What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr Wargames, bringing you an update to my Dark Magician fusion build. Now, what makes this different from all the others? Well, it's not about going spam, Verte, Dragoon. It's all about going, let's work for it, let's make a fusion summon. Now, it does actually feature Dogmatikas because that is the meta-relevant part of this deck. It is what gives the deck extendability, it gives it more interruptions, it also gives it a lockdown and an aggressive playout. With all of that out of the way, if you would like to see a ritual version of my Dark Magician, smash that like button, get it above 50 likes at least, and I will bring that for you tomorrow. With all of that out of the way, let's get into today's profile of Dark Magician Fusions. Now, we do play, of course, a Dark Magician deck, so it does need Dark Magician himself. Now, in this deck, this is one of the very few Dark Magician decks where you actually want Dark Magician in your hand to conduct your fusion summons, which is why it's quite important and why we play a couple of different cards in this particular build that we wouldn't play in some of the others. We then, of course, play Magician's Rod at 3. This is your most important normal summon. Now, the Keeper of Dragon Magic in this deck does clash with this quite big, and it's one thing that always puts me off of actually trying to use Keeper of Dragon Magic, because there's no easy way to special summon Keeper, but there's easier ways of summoning Rod, but Rod only triggers on normal summon. Go figure. But it's still very important, and there are two combos. Obviously, one with Magician's Rod gets you into the Dark Magicians, one with Keeper of Dragon Magic can get you into the Dragoon. So you've got a couple of different routes that way, and the idea is you're going to get your Fusion Monster on the board, then you're going to special summon out Ecclesia. Ecclesia then leads you into either Philidius, or is of course going to lead you into your Dogmatika punishment. Now, ideally, what you want to be doing is you do want to be setting up your plays for your Schism, because then you're going to be Dragoon backed up with a Winder. Your opponent's going to struggle to break that board, and then the next turn, you're pretty much going to be able to go off and go to Quintet to win you the game. Then got Triple Magician's Souls. This is actually even more important because what this can do, specifically for Keeper of Dragon Magic, is put Dark Magician in the graveyard. Now, it can put Dark Magician on the board for the Rod combo, but in the Keeper combo, what it does is put Dark Magician in the graveyard. That then allows Magician's Souls to send any dead spells or traps to give you additional draws. And then what you do is Keeper of Dragon Magic will discard a card to search out a Poly, or of course Magicalized Fusion. And then it will also be able to bring back the Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from the graveyard. We then play the one Apprentice Illusion. Of course, what's important about her is she does allow you to put Dark Magician in the graveyard or Dark Magician Girl, but it does also allow you to search out a Dark Magician again, giving you more access to your fusion plays as a free extender as well. Now, you're not going to be using her effect to then link off with, but you're going to be able to use her as a drop to protect your spellcasters by giving them additional 2,000 attack. But you're also going to be able to use her to search out Dark Magician and get an additional body on the board for the Dark Magicians as well. We then also play the one Dark Magician Girl. Now, in this particular build, it's a little bit different because what Dark Magician Girl can actually offer to the deck is she is a target that can be summoned out using Fusion Deployment. She is also a target that can make Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight. She can make the Dark Magicians, and we also play Combination because you want to make sure that in all the other builds that I see, it's literally like, okay, I'm making Verte, I'm going to send Dark Magician Girl off of Souls, and then I'm going to draw two. And it's like, okay. And the only other reason I use it is if my opponent destroys the Dark Magicians, I get both of them on board. It's like, well, the chance of your opponent destroying the Dark Magicians is very, very low, so at least put a combination or at least put something else in there to make it more useful playing the Dark Magician Girl, which is why we've gone with this particular version. We've then got double Keeper of Dragon Magic. Like I said, it is not as important as Souls, as Rod, but the annoying thing is you will 9 times out of 10 see the pair of them in the hand together rather than separately when you want them. The idea is that Rod is supposed to be your first normal summon. He will set up your control board, and then your second summon on your next turn will be Keeper, because then Keeper can unlock either a Dragoon for burn and damage, or a Quintet because you would have used your Dogmatika engine, putting 5 spellcasters with different names in the graveyard. Keeper of Dark Magic will search you out your Magicalized Fusion, or of course Polymerization, and then that is going to pretty much lead you to game. Then we've got Fallen of Albaz, which connects the two engines of Dark Magician and Dogmatika together. What makes Fallen of Albaz so good is, again, is a target that can be brought out using Fusion Deployment. On top of that, he is a dragon. So if you were to activate Fusion Deployment and Magician's Rod and have a Dark Magician in hand, using your Dark Magician plus your Albaz can get you into a Dragoon. Now, obviously, you can't use Albaz's effect himself to make you a Dragoon unless you're using your opponent's Dragoon. Nice. But that will allow you to extend your fusion plays and just use him as a free Dragon monster without Keeper of Dragon Magic. Now, if Keeper of Dragon Magic was listed on a fusion monster, broken, beautiful, amazing, but he isn't, sadly. Then the Dogmatika engine, we do have triple Ecclesia, one Philidius. This is all you really need. You could play the one Wolverine if you wanted to. You could even cut Ecclesia down if you wanted to rely less on the engine, because the most important thing to get you your Shadow plays, because you're not playing Maximus, and to set up your fusion plays using Predaplant, you can also use Nadir. Nadir is your most important card of the entire Dogmatika engine. And all you really wanted to be doing is searching out Ecclesia, so it does give you later game plays as well. Speaking of which, triple Nadir Servant, shocker, is what it is. Such a powerful card, especially in this deck when you've already built your fusion monster. This then allows, not only does it set up spellcasts in the graveyard for Quintet, but it also sets up future plays, either going into your Apkaline to set up your Shadow Schism plays, or it can start sending stuff like Natis for aggressive pop plays and kind of move further forward that way as well. Then the last traps of course, the Dogmatika package is the one Schism and the one Punishment. Punishment is pretty much, if you're sitting on a Dragoon, Punishment becomes a double pop, which is beautiful. And yes, you don't get to go into the extra deck, but then when your main boss monsters are coming out as a Dark Magician, also coming out as a Philidius, you shouldn't really need to worry about going into it. So that's pretty much for the engines until we move on to the spells. Now, I know a lot of you might be like, well, where's Red Eyes? Where's Red Eyes Fusion? Well, in this particular build, because I'm not going with Verte Anaconda, it's not about sending Red Eyes and Red Eyes Fusion, which you can do, but this is also a little bit of a failsafe in case Red Eyes Fusion, and of course, maybe Verte gets banned, but very unlikely. If it happens, this is a route you can go. On top of that, the other thing that it does by taking out Red Eyes Fusion and Red Eyes is it takes out 2 brick cards. Because what I really don't like in this particular deck is if you draw Red Eyes Fusion and you play Red Eyes Fusion, that's it. You're not normal summoning your Rod. You're not getting to the core cards that you need of the deck. You're then relying on the rest of your hand to be good enough in order to play through your opponent's turn while sitting on one Dragoon. Yes, which is only going to be one Omni-Negate. So you would then need to open up with the rest of your hand to be the ability of getting into, without using a monster effect, a Dark Magical Circle and an Eternal Soul just to make it worthwhile. So to me, the Red Eyes wasn't really useful. I would rather be using Keeper of Dragon Magic and using Fallen of Albaz to make my Dragoon, rather than trying to rely on this one vanilla Red Eyes. Moving on to the spells, we've got Triple Dark Magical Circle. Spoke about this more than enough. Love the card. Triple Soul Servant, again, absolutely love the card. Stack the deck with whatever cards you want that list Dark Magician. Specifically list Dark Magician, guys. Keep that in mind. If it doesn't list Dark Magician in its name, you can't stack it. And then, of course, you can banish this and draw 2 cards if you've got Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl in the graveyard or on the field. Nice. You can also use my personal favourite tech of the True Name. The only reason I didn't put the True Name in this particular build is because it doesn't actually add to the fusion. It adds to the consistency, but because we're not playing fusion monsters that are like, we want a really big 4k or plus monster, or we want a obelisk on the board, it wasn't of much use. So I've kind of cut that out, and in place went with Fusion Deployment. What is so good about this? Well, it gets Dark Magician from your deck. It should basically say, special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your deck for free. That's right, it pretty much sets it for free. You are locked into fusion summoning, but when you're playing a fusion build, why does that matter? The other good thing about this is it can be used to bring out Fallen of Albaz. So by you bringing out Fallen of Albaz, you do have the ability to discard a card and try and bait out one of your opponent's negates, because Fallen of Albaz is just going to go, I'm going to use your monster and I'm going to make my own Dragoon, or I'm going to use your monster and I'm going to make my own Titaniclad. So very, very important on something like that. Works out wonders and puts a lot of work in this particular build. Then for specifically speaking of the fusion spells, we've got the 1 Secrets, the 1 Magicalized, and the 1 Polymerization. Now, when you look at these, obviously all of these can access your fusion cards. The chances are this is going to be used for Quintet more times than not, but can also be used for a second Dragoon. This is going to be used for Dragoon, this is going to be used for Dragoon, and this, and possibly this, is also going to be used for the Dark Magicians as well. So keep that in mind. For the remainder of the spells, we do play the 1 Dark Magic Inheritance and the 1 Spice of the Night Reasoning. Now, Reasoning, we actually play levels 1s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s. Not the 5, sorry. 1, 3s, 4s, 6s, and 7s. So Reasoning can become a free summon, getting you into Ecclesia for free, get you into a Keeper of Dragon Magic, was the only time you're going to be able to get Keeper and Rod on the board at the same time, and get both of the effects. The only card that it really sucks to summon this off for free off of is Rod, because then Rod just goes, I'm not going to do nothing. Dogmatic Inheritance is very important because after you've used the Dogmatika engine, you would have already put Nadir in the graveyard. So all you need to do is get another spell in the graveyard, which could be your Magical Ice Fusion, could be Polymerization, could be anything. You can then use Dogmatic Inheritance. That will then allow you to get to Secrets, to get you to Circle, to get to Eternal Soul, and really puts in a lot of work. It can also help you get to this wonderful card, and that is the Combination. So for the traps, we play 2 Eternal Soul and the 1 Combination. And the reason I like Combination so much is it's very easy to get a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl to the graveyard. On top of that, because this is a fusion build, you actually want to see your Dark Magician as early as possible. And what this allows you to do, this allows you to tribute Dark Magician, bring back Dark Magician Girl. Tribute Dark Magician Girl, bring back Dark Magician. Eternal Soul, bring back Dark Magician, tribute it to bring back Dark Magician Girl. So you're negating stuff, and if you send it off face up from the field with souls, you get to pop a card as well, which is really good. And then you've got the Eternal Souls constantly looping. The other thing with Eternal Soul in this build is it's a little bit more risky because the only card that's really going to be protected when this goes off to be destroyed is going to be your Dragoon. So you need to protect this as much as you possibly can, which is why the Dragon Knight also comes in to put in a lot of work. So that's it for the main deck, full on 40 cards for that one. Moving on to the extra deck, we do play the 1 Mac Daddy Quintet Magician. Now, you're going to be easily able to get 5 spellcasters with different names in the graveyard. You look at Ecclesia, you look at Philidius, you also then look at your stuff like Rod, you look at Souls, Apprentice, Dark Magician Girl, and Dark Magician. That's 7 cards, maybe 6 of them you should all be going through on near enough your first, if not second turn. The best thing about Quintet is not only can Keeper of Dragon Magic search out Magical Ice Fusion, but so can, little surprise right here, your Predaplant, Chimera Flesia. So if you send this off in Nadir Servant during the next standby phase, or if you send it off a punishment and pop a card that's 25 or less, you're going to be able to search out a Magical Ice Fusion or a Polymerization during the next standby phase. Nice! The other thing with Quintet as well that you've got to keep in mind is the Dark Magicians is Spellcaster, Dragoon is Spellcaster, Selene is Spellcaster, Winder is even a Spellcaster, so is El Shaddai Apkaline, and of course your Artemis the Magistus Moon Maiden, should you summon it. So you're going to be very, very easy to get this guy on the board. Now the other fusion monsters we use that you're going to be summoning through the Dark Magician is of course double Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This is purely if they stop the first one, you're going to be going for a second one because that burn is so good. Even though you're only going to be doing it once because you're using just Dark Magician and not Red Eyes, that's still so good. For the other Dark Magician fusions, we've got the Dark Magicians, of course, and Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. Now the biggest issue I have with Dark Magician the Dragon Knight is if I've got a Dragon and a Dark Magician on board or way of fusion summoning, I'm probably going to go for Dragoons first, 9 times out of 10. Now the only reason you'd go for this is if you've opened up a lot of back row, if you've opened up a back row you want to protect, you've got your Schism playing, everything like that, you'd probably go for this, protect your back row, more so when you side in cards if you want to side in like Gozens and Rivalries and all of that stuff, this can then help protect you even further. The first fusion I'm going for is Dragoon, the second I'm going for is the Dark Magicians, and then the third I'm going for is Quintet. That's pretty much my route of play. Now the 5 fusion monsters that you are either going to be summoning off of or utilising through the engine of Dogmatikas. Now the ones you're probably going to be summoning is of course going to be your Winder, Shocker. The one you are going to be sending is of course Apkaline, but you're also going to be sending Natis for the aggressive pop and your Chimera Flesia for your additional search for the next turn, which will then set up your Quintet play. And because your Quintet play is going to be set up, you're going to be banishing 5 spellcasters with different names, nuking your opponent's entire board, and you're sitting on a 4500 towers, and then if you have a route to get into a Dragoon or anything like that, GG bro, told you Dark Magician was the master, just saying. And then one of the final cards that you're either going to be sending, or possibly summoning, is Titanclad the Ash Dragon. Now this is Albaz plus 1 monster with 2500 or more attack on your opponent's side of the field. Its effect itself contained isn't great because it gains attack equal by 100 to the levels that it was used to fusion summon. But what it does do is it does give you that ability to send it, to then get a late game special summon of Ecclesia if you don't get her. Or what you're probably going to be using it more times than not is it does give Albaz a way of just going discard, make, done. Now if you've got more chance of using this with Albaz's effect than Dragoon, but if the option to make Dragoon comes up using Albaz, I'm definitely going to take it. Then moving on to the very small link lineup, we've got the 1 Umduct, Dark Magician, Umduct, Eternal Soul, bring back Dark Magician. Boom, off we go, good to rock and roll. And then of course you've got the 1 Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden. Rod into Artemis then unlocks the entire Dogmatika plays, and if you don't make this route, you're going to be using the fusion route, so it is a backup. You've then got IP Masquerena, and the chances are IP Masquerena is only going to go into your BLS. Keep in mind that Philidius is also higher than level 7, so you get to go into this bad boy, it's going to get all of its protection, especially if you're bouncing off the back with IP Masquerena. Very situational, so it can easily be bounced out should you want to. And then the final monster we have is Selene. Now the reason Selene has been kept in here even without a boss monster, and a boss monster could be access code, because you do have dark, light and wind, and obviously this can become a light as well. But the reason we've kept Selene in here is she can actually bring you back your Shadow Winder. So yes, what you do is if you clear your opponent's board but you can't OTK, you then bring back your Winder. Yes, it's only going to be on defense at 800, but it does mean that your opponent has to use up their in battle phase to get rid of a defense play position Winder, and then you're just going to go further from that turn, the next turn, to then OTK. So it does give you a lot of plays. Now before we wrap up, I'm going to show you a couple of other extra deck monsters that you can play around with and you could possibly use in your deck. So we've got Furious Dragon. Now, of course, what's really good about this is it's made with using Fallen of Albaz, and because Fallen of Albaz is listed on Titaniclad, you can summon it back from the graveyard with Keeper of Dragon Magic, and then you can use the polymerization you search of for Keeper of Dragon Magic to make Furious Dragon, and Furious Dragon has a very nice quick effect: target one monster your opponent controls and one monster you control and one card your opponent controls, and pop them both. You can also banish this from the graveyard to special summon back a Dark Link monster, which allows you at the moment to bring back IP, but if you wanted to rely on this build, this particular card as well, you would put in more Dark Link monsters. But it is just a nice little option. The other Link monsters you've got is, if it doesn't get banned, Verti Anaconda and Unicorn to come off of your IP Masquerena. But then if you want to be very, very spicy, you'd also have the Awas, the Magistus. Now the reason I'm not maining this is because the idea behind this is that you would need to link summon into Artemis, then link Artemis off the board to probably go into a Verti Anaconda, to then put them in the graveyard, to then use Verti Anaconda's effect to send a Magicalized Fusion. Magicalized Fusion will banish the two to make this guy. And you only really want to be using him going first. Now you could use him going second, but then obviously you still need to build up your board in your graveyard. It is an option, but it's not one that I am maining at current. And then the last two, of course, you've got your El Shaddai Construct coming off the back of Schism, and of course your Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, just gives it a little bit more utility for Dark Magician Girl within the deck as well. It does give you that nice discard and pop, and it does also give you the ability of, rather than using Dark Magician to go with Keeper Dragon Magic, you can use Keeper Dragon Magic and the Dark Magician Girl to make a boss monster fusion, rather than a draw card fusion off of the back of the Dark Magicians. But like I said, that is just a couple of options for you to see and play it around with yourself. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is that for the Dark Magician Fusion build. Now personally, I really, really like the Fusion build of the deck. It kind of goes back to the natural state of Dark Magician when you look back at cards like Dark Paladin, and of course Amulet Dragon as well. Now the reason they're not in here is because I'm not using Eye of Timaeus, and the reason I'm not using Eye of Timaeus is, if you noticed, all three of my fusion spells within the deck are searchable. So I don't really want to rely on playing 3 Eye of Timaeus just in order to trigger certain cards. Yes, it's nice not to use and abuse all of the different, like, everything I have in my field or everything in my graveyard, but it does have its restrictions by not being searchable. It doesn't allow me to get where I need to go on a consistent basis, which is one reason why I'm not playing Eye of Timaeus. Anyway, like I said at the start of the video, please smash that like button, get it above 50 likes if you want to see a ritual build for Dark Magician, and I will bring it to you tomorrow. Other than that, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more awesome content coming from the channel. With all of that out of the way, as absolutely always guys, stay safe and happy dueling.